The Galactic Council chamber hummed with the soft bioluminescence of 1,000 species, each representative seated in carefully calibrated atmospheric pods designed for their unique physiologies. Lisa sat in the human delegation section, her plain gray suit and unremarkable features making her nearly invisible among the exotic forms surrounding her. The Vraxians shimmered with crystalline exoskeletons, the Kelthori floated in their methane spheres, and the insectoid genter clicked their mandibles in what passed for polite conversation. No one noticed her, they never did. For 3 standard years, Lisa had served as a junior analyst for Earth's diplomatic corps, attending every session, taking notes, filing reports that her superiors rarely read. She was furniture in a room full of gods, or so the galaxy's elder races seemed to believe themselves to be. Humanity was the newest addition to the Council, barely 2 centuries into faster-than-light travel, still considered primitive by species who had conquered the stars for millennia. Laura, her colleague and the only other human in the building, leaned over from his seat beside her. His amber eyes held the perpetual exhaustion of someone who'd spent too many nights translating xenolinguistic contracts. Another 6 hours of them debating agriculture subsidies for the Outer Rim, he whispered. I'm going to die of boredom before I die of anything interesting. Lisa smiled faintly but said nothing. Her attention was fixed on the central holodisplay where Ambassador Vexthora of the Hegemony droned on about grain distribution. Behind her measured expression, her mind worked through tactical calculations she'd never shared with anyone, sight lines, defensive positions, structural vulnerabilities in the chamber's architecture, old habits from a life she'd left behind. The alarm shattered the monotony. Red emergency lights flooded the chamber as the holodisplay flickered and died. Vexthora's speech cut off mid-syllable. Then came the sound, a deep, resonant boom that shook the walls. The Krell Supremacy's war fleet had somehow bypassed every defense grid, every early warning system, and emerged from quantum tunnels directly above the Council station. Panic erupted instantly. The Vraxian representatives' pod shattered as they tried to flee, their crystalline body tumbling across the floor. The Kelthori's methane sphere began leaking, the occupant inside convulsing. Laura grabbed Lisa's arm, his face pale. We need to get to the escape pods. Lisa was already moving, but not toward the exits. She vaulted over the railing of the human section with fluid precision, landing in the central floor. Her hands moved to her belt, extracting what appeared to be a simple data tablet. With 3 swift motions, she had disassembled it into components that clicked together in an entirely different configuration. A compact plasma sidearm that technically violated 17 Council regulations. Lisa, what the hell? Laura's voice was distant now, drowned by the screaming and the second explosion that tore through the eastern wall. Krell shock troops poured through the breach, massive, 8-limbed creatures encased in powered armor that made them look like mobile fortresses. Their plasma cannons began firing indiscriminately into the fleeing delegates. A Genter diplomat's head vaporized in a spray of green ichor. The Kelthori sphere exploded in a fireball of ignited methane. Lisa moved. Her first shot took the lead Krell through the optical sensor cluster on its helmet. The creature dropped, and she was already behind a support column before its companions could return fire. The security drones, supposedly state-of-the-art hegemony technology, hovered uselessly, their targeting systems jammed by Krell electronic warfare. She counted 8 hostiles in the initial breach team, identified the squad leader by the gold markings on its armor, and formulated a plan in the 2 seconds it took for them to spread out. The Council chamber had excellent acoustics, designed so every species could hear the proceedings. That meant sound traveled predictably, bounced in calculable patterns. Lisa fired 3 shots at the ceiling above the Krell formation. The plasma bolt struck precision points in the structural supports. The section collapsed exactly as she'd predicted, crushing 3 of the invaders and separating the squad leader from its unit. She sprinted across the open floor, her movements economical and devastatingly efficient. A Krell weapon tracked her, but she'd already calculated its firing arc. She slid beneath the plasma stream, came up with her sidearm pressed against the armor's ventilation port, one of two vulnerable points in Krell combat suits, and fired. The creature's internal atmosphere ignited, cooking it alive inside its shell. Laura watched from behind an overturned desk, his mind refusing to process what he was seeing. This was Lisa. Quiet, forgettable Lisa, who always brought homemade sandwiches to strategy meetings and apologized when she had to reach across someone for a data pad. This couldn't be her moving like liquid death through a squad of the galaxy's most feared warriors. The remaining Krell had regrouped, their armor's adaptive systems learning from her attacks. They advanced in a coordinated pattern, overlapping fields of fire that left no openings. Lisa holstered her sidearm, useless now, and grabbed a fallen Vraxian ceremonial staff. She threw it like a javelin, not at the Krell but at the environmental control panel on the far wall. The chamber's atmosphere processors went into emergency mode, flooding the space with fire-suppressant foam. The Krell's thermal optics whited out. Lisa had already closed her eyes, moving through the sudden blindness with the confidence of someone who'd memorized every centimeter of the room during 3 years of boring meetings. Her hands found the combat knife she'd kept strapped to her calf beneath her formal pants. When the foam cleared 30 seconds later, 4 more Krell lay dead with precision cuts to their armor seals. The last one stood in the center of the chamber, its weapon trained on a cluster of cowering delegates including Ambassador Vexthora. "Human," the Krell growled through its translator, its voice like grinding stones. "Surrender or they die." Lisa stood 15 meters away, empty-handed, her gray suit torn and stained with various colors of alien blood. Her chest rose and fell with controlled breaths. Her eyes, those unremarkable brown eyes Laura had never really looked at, were cold and calculating. "No," she said simply. The Krell's armored finger began to squeeze the trigger. Lisa moved. She covered 15 meters in less than 2 seconds, her body angled to present the smallest possible target. The plasma bolt passed so close it burned away part of her sleeve. Then she was inside the Krell's reach, her fist driving upward into the creature's throat joint with surgical precision. The armor there was thin to allow for head articulation. Her strike collapsed the Krell's trachea equivalent. As it fell, gasping, she caught its weapon before it hit the ground and fired point-blank into its visor. Silence descended on the chamber, broken only by distant alarms and the whimpering of traumatized delegates. Lisa lowered the weapon, safed it, and set it down carefully. Her hands were shaking now, delayed adrenaline response. She turned to find the entire surviving assembly staring at her. Laura emerged from cover slowly, as if approaching a dangerous animal. "Lisa, how did you?" "I was a Marine," she said quietly, "before the diplomatic corps, special operations, counterinsurgency, hostile environment warfare, close-quarters combat specialist. I thought I was done with that." She looked at her hands, still trembling. "I wanted to be done with that." Ambassador Vexthora approached, her main eye stalk focused on Lisa with new intensity. "You have been here 3 years, attending every session. Why did you never?" "Because no one asked," Lisa interrupted. "You all assumed humans were soft, weak, new to the galaxy and naive about how violence works." She gestured at the dead Krell. "We're not naive, we're just tired of fighting. Every species in this council had their era of warfare, their time of blood and conquest. You all moved past it, built something better. We wanted to do the same, to sit at the table as equals who talked instead of killed." She walked toward the breach in the wall where more Krell forces could be seen in the corridor, their advance stalled by the chaos of their advance team's complete annihilation. Council security forces were finally arriving, their weapons raised. "But when talking fails," Lisa continued, picking up a fallen Krell rifle and checking its charge, "humans remember how to do the other thing very, very well." The footage from the chamber's security systems would be analyzed for months. Xenomilitary tacticians would study every movement, every decision Lisa made. The Krell supremacy would withdraw their forces within a week, citing tactical reassessment, when they realized that the supposedly weak human delegation had a single operator who dismantled their elite shock troops with improvised weapons and environmental advantages. Laura would eventually ask her, over drinks in the rebuilt council station, why she'd hidden what she was capable of. "Because I wasn't hiding," Lisa would reply. "I was being what I chose to be. The fact that I can kill efficiently doesn't mean that's all I am." The galaxy's elder races forgot that about themselves, forgot that peace is a choice you make every day, not a default state. Humans are dangerous, Laura. We're adaptable, creative, and when pushed, absolutely vicious. But that's not our killer instinct. Then what is? Our killer instinct, Lisa said, looking out at the stars, is deciding not to use it, choosing to be better, and defending that choice when someone threatens it. She smiled slightly. "They notice me now, but I was always here, always ready, just hopping I'd never have to be." The galaxy learned a lesson that day, one that would reshape diplomatic relations with humanity for generations. The quiet ones are dangerous not because they hide their strength, but because they've learned to control it. And there is nothing in the universe more terrifying than a species that chooses peace while remaining fully capable of war. Lisa returned to her seat among them in her plain gray suit, taking notes and filing reports. But now, when she walked the council halls, representatives moved aside, not from fear but from respect. They had finally seen what humanity brought to the galactic table, not just idealism, but the strength to defend it. And sometimes, late at night, Lisa would remember the weight of that Krell rifle in her hands and feel a cold satisfaction that she'd returned to her chosen life without regret. The warrior had done her work. The diplomat could continue hers. That was the true killer instinct, knowing exactly when to be which version of yourself.